Hi 230, so this is the lesson for May 15th. We're still working on probability. I actually pulled these questions from ANET. So these are actually really great questions. So looking at these, on the first one right here, they're saying that he's playing a computer game. In order to win, he has to roll a 6, 7, or 8 on the next roll. Well, 6, 7, or 8, that's 3 chances, but out of 8 total, so 3 out of 8 simplifies to 0.375, which is about 37.5% chance that he's going to win. So I wouldn't say that that's likely that he would win. I would say that that's unlikely because it's less than 50%. In order for it to be likely, it should be more than 50%. All right, on the next one, Olive has 3 fair coins. She tosses them each up one at a time. What's the best description for the probability that all 3 will be heads? I would call that unlikely. It's not impossible, but it just probably wouldn't happen. All right, last one on the page. Shen has a number cube with numbers 1 through 6. He will roll the cube for 1 time, and he wants to know the chance that it will be greater than 2. All right, so that means that their options are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, 3, 4, 5, 6 are bigger than 2, so that would be 4 out of 6 chances, which you can simplify to 2 out of 3 chances. Okay, on the next one. They want to know the order of least likely to most likely. Well, the least likely one is B, that an arrow lands in a section labeled with the number 1. There's 4 times it's labeled 1, so that would be 4 out of 8. Which is the least. Then the next likely one would be that the arrow lands on a section with an odd number. And so there's 6 times that it's an odd number, so that'd be 6 out of 8, which is bigger than 4 out of 8, but it's not as big as the last one, which would be that it lands on a number less than 4. There's 7 numbers less than 4, and 7 out of 8 is bigger than 6 out of 8, so that's why it's BAC. All right, at the bottom. You're pulling out some marbles and there's certain colors. And the first one says it's impossible that a green marble will be selected. And that's true because there are no green marbles. So the probability there is 0 out of 16. Next one, it is unlikely that a yellow marble will be selected. Well, there's 9 yellow marbles. 9 out of 16 would be likely because it's more than half, and half of 16 is 8. So I would call that one false. The third one, it is certain that a blue marble will be selected. There's no certainty. Yes, 5 out of 16 are blue, but it's not for sure you're going to pull a blue. So that would be false. Last one, it's unlikely that a red marble will be selected. Well, only 2 red marbles are in there. So 2 out of 16 is not a very high probability. So I would agree. That one's true. All right, on the next page. So up at the top, they say, what's the relative frequency of heads? Well, they rolled heads or flipped heads 27 out of 50 times. So if I divide that, I get 0.54, which means 54% of the time they got a heads. And for B, the theoretical probability, that means like if you were just assuming what it would happen, you would assume that it would happen 50% of the time that you would get heads because there's only 2 options. 1 out of 2 is 50%. And so the reason why they're not the exact same is because when you're doing an experiment, it's always not going to be exactly the same. It might end up being exactly the same, but it's not for sure going to be exactly the same as the experimental and then the theoretical, which is like the one that you would expect to eventually happen. All right, 8. Reagan will use a random number generator 1,200 times. Each result. All right, how many times will the digit 5 appear? Okay, so 5 is only one number out of 6 numbers, so that's why I've got 1 out of 6 here. X out of 1,200, we're going to cross multiply. 1 times 1,200, divide that by 6, and we're going to get 200. So then I have to decide between A and B, and it's not going to be A because it's not going to be exactly 200. It might be. But it might be 199, it might be 201, it might be 202. We don't know, but it should be about 200. All right, last one on the page. They're asking about how many times would you roll lose a turn? Well, since there's 5 equal sections, it's going to be 1 out of 5 equals X out of 100, cross multiply, 1 times 100, and then divide by 5, and you're going to get 20. All right, last page. So looking at that first one, they're talking about some baseball cards and some football cards, hockey cards, basketball cards. So first you have to figure out the total amount of cards, which is 36, by adding 8 plus 10 plus 4 plus 14. And 4 of them are hockey. So it's going to be 4 out of 36, which is going to simplify to 1 out of 9. All right, on the last page, they want to know that the chance that the penny will be earlier than 1990. Well, if we look at it, the numbers that are earlier than 1990, there was 1 penny that's earlier than 1960, 4 that are between 1970 and 1979, and 2 that are between 1980 and 1989. So that adds up to 7. Out of a total of 15 pennies, 7 out of 15 is our answer. All right.